Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, and coming at you today with the January... Fuck, what day is it? January 11th. There we go. I know what time of day it is. I am not in an endless loop of the same day being lived in my life every day. We're here with the January 11th Raw review. Before we get into it, quick self-plug. If you want to support me and the channel, you can do so by subscribing to my Patreon. The link will be the first link in the description. So head on over there if you would like to support me in the channel. You get some benefits, some little perks and stuff like that. And yeah, if you can, that'd be great. If not, that's a-okay. But moving on to the review, Raw was not good. Raw had that really weird, really good episode, I think 2 weeks ago. So like the one before the New Year. So their Raw's last show of 2020 was very, very good. The one before that was shit. The one last week was shit, kinda. And then it was not good this week either. So... yeah, we started the show off with a Triple H promo, obviously going into Raw. They announced on Twitter and other social medias and on their website probably and stuff like that earlier in the day that Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, had gotten COVID-19. So he obviously wouldn't be at the show. Granted, they had Randy versus Drew scheduled for the show, so that obviously meant that they would have to rework some shit and get the show. The show goes on, you know what I'm saying? So they'd have to find something else for Randy to do, which ended up being Triple H. Not that way. So Triple H comes out to his King of Kings theme music. This is a small thing that has nothing to do with anything. It's just like a little tidbit of information. I really like that Triple H has different themes for his different kind of things that he's doing. You know what I mean? Like corporate Triple H has King of Kings, wrestler Triple H has the game, and then obviously Evolution Triple H had Evolution. You know, back in the 90s, he had My Time. So, like, I like that different versions of Triple H have different themes that he kind of picks and chooses to use, you know what I mean? So I like that a lot. Triple H makes a funny little offhand comment saying, listen to them. I've still got it. Listen to them as they pipe in Triple H chants. As Triple H is about to speak, Randy interrupts. And he comes in and he says, listen, man, you flew down to Florida, wherever the fuck they were. Wherever the fuck they were, I don't really remember. But he flew down, so he's there to make some sort of announcement, make some sort of decision. So does he want to give Randy the number 30 in the Rumble, or does he want to just do the right thing and give him the championship? Triple H is like, nah, that's not what I'm here about, kind of thing. The promo moves on to Triple H saying that he's been watching Randy this year and he's been impressed. He's not surprised. He talks about how he found the old Randy Orton again. He was gone for a while, the old Randy Orton, but he came back. And he understands. He understands why he dropped the match on The Fiend, because The Fiend was the only thing between him and the WWE Championship, whatever. What he doesn't understand is how he's disrespecting legends, punt-kicking them in the head, talking down to Ric Flair, mocking Mark Henry. So Triple H, right? Triple H, who is also the face of NXT, he runs the company. One of the representatives of the company's corporate team, one of the main representatives, right, the COO, is in the ring telling basically his employee, hey, you burned another person alive, and I understand because that was between you and the title, but I don't understand you mocking a dude who can't walk. Excuse me? How does that make any sense? Fuck that, whatever. Triple H said prick on live TV, and it didn't get censored. I thought that was interesting. I guess you can say prick on TV. Randy challenges Triple H to a fight. Triple H says, when you know somebody wants something really bad, you don't give it to them. There's nothing in it for me. The answer is no. Randy's like, are you saying no because there's nothing in it for you, or because Steph's not here and you left her balls in her bag? So the traditional, hey man, you're whipped by your wife comment, which is like, okay, like that's played out, but whatever. And then Triple H comes back. He's about to speak. He punches Randy. Randy says, I'll take that as a yes. That's the end of the segment. Whatever. So, like, I understand that. So it wasn't a good promo to start Raw. I didn't like it. However, I'm giving them leeway on that promo because they had to last minute find out what to do because Drew got COVID, right? So they had other shit planned and then COVID and then whatever, right? So it wasn't good, but I'm giving them leeway on that. So that's whatever. Then they had a Charlotte backstage interview where she was asked about Lacey last week, like, you know, shamelessly hitting on Ric Flair and also her heated words with Ric Flair. She's like, oh, you're looking for the word classless, by the way. And like, you know, my dad raised me, this and that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But mainly what I got from the promo was her saying, it's 2021. I'm about to wrestle a match on Raw. Why are you asking about my dad? I'm going to go show this classless woman how to be a lady. The promo itself in its entirety wasn't too great, like the Charlotte's responses and stuff. I do like the little bit of the wordplay, I guess, technically on the whole classless woman to lady thing, because Lacey's whole gimmick is how to be a lady, right? Like that's her whole gimmick or some shit like that. So I like the wordplay there. Other than that, it wasn't too great. Lacey also gets an interview, tells her to calm down. She wasn't flirting with anybody who didn't want to be flirted with. When Ric Flair's there, why wouldn't she want some of that sugar? Charlotte, in her interview, says that Ric's at home watching, and then she's going to go show the classless woman, blah, blah, blah. And then Lacey blows a kiss to Ric Flair into the camera, watching at home. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial with Drew's message about COVID. He's like, hey, I guess you heard. I got COVID. Don't take this lightly. Take this seriously. Blah, blah, blah. I'm asymptomatic. It was a thing telling you, you know, only do essential things and don't go get COVID like an idiot by going out and partying for New Year's and stuff like that, like some people did, which like I really don't get it, but whatever, you do you, dude. Putting other people at risk. That's party life, brother. Then we had Lacey versus Charlotte. Also, Lacey dedicated her match to Rick in that backstage interview that she did. Lacey versus Charlotte was up next. No sign of Asuka whatsoever, and no sign of Peyton whatsoever. And I mean Asuka for the rest of the night did not appear. The women's champion of your show did not appear. And she was only mentioned in passing because of Charlotte. Man, I wonder who's going to win the title off of her. We've got we got the match going, whatever. Then Ric Flair's music hits and he makes his entrance mid-match. It's 2021. Why is Ric Flair on TV? So the match continues with Ric there. Charlotte's kind of like, why are you here? Charlotte does the natural selection to Lacey near the ropes. 1, 2. Ric puts her foot on the ropes, causing, you know, Lacey or Charlotte not to get the win. Charlotte's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm not staying home, blah, blah, blah. She's like, stay home. He's like, nah, I'm not staying home. Then Lacey kind of like rolls to the apron. She gets up on the outside of the ropes, I think. Charlotte tries to suplex her back in. Ric grabs Charlotte's foot while she's trying to suplex, making her fall over. Lacey falls on top of her for the pin. Ric holds Charlotte's feet down for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Lacey gets a pinfall victory over Charlotte Flair. Ric celebrates with Lacey on the ramp. Lacey Evans can get a pinfall victory over Charlotte Flair, but Io Shirai could not. She can take 2 pinfalls back-to-back on Raw after coming back and winning a championship, but she cannot take a pinfall in a triple threat for the NXT title, and she couldn't take a pinfall at WrestleMania when Rhea was supposed to go over. Why? I don't get it. I don't get it. The shit with Rick also doesn't, like, they've already done this Charlotte doesn't need Ric Flair shit like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Like, didn't they do that when she was fairly new to the roster? Or maybe 3 years ago? I can't remember when, but I'm pretty sure they've done this whole I don't need my dad shtick with Charlotte before. I feel like they've done it before. I can't remember, but I swear they have, because they've had something. I think they did it with Becky where, like, he was flirting with Becky or something like years ago, but I just like, why? 1, 2, not only do they not need the Charlotte proves herself thing, because Charlotte is a multi-time champion. She's one of the most protected women probably in history in wrestling. She doesn't need a prove herself angle. Also, why the fuck is Ric Flair on WWE TV twice 2 weeks in a row in 2021? Why? Did he hit up Vince and be like, hey man, I blew all my money on fucking watches and shit so I could flex instead of actually spending my money well. Can I appear on the show in a storyline that doesn't help my daughter at all, or doesn't really even help Lacey that much? Like, really? Like, why? Like, why? If this is them kind of like redirecting for a Charlotte Rumble win, that's going to suck, because Charlotte should not win the Rumble. It's just, we're not off to a good start here on Raw. I don't mind Charlotte putting people over. It's just like the way they're doing it's kind of whatever. But it is what it is, I guess. Ric Flair, maybe he'll appear next week. Who knows? We'll see. They had a very quick Rick and Lacey interview where I think Lacey said Space Mountain when the interviewer asked them about something, but I wasn't really paying attention, and it was so quick and a one-liner that I didn't really listen. But I think maybe she would have said Space Mountain, I think. Even though Lacey's married with kids in real life, I'm pretty sure. So, like, yay, WWE. Yay, WWE. Good for you. Okay. They had a Keithley backstage interview, which was interrupted by Sheamus, where he says, listen, you know, things haven't been great between us recently. You got Drew's respect last week, which means you have my respect. Puts out his hand to shake. Miz and Morrison interrupt. They say some shit. John Morrison does his kind of Dumb and Dumber gimmick, and Keithley and Sheamus have, like, coincidentally, you know, call them Dumb and Dumber. And then Keith's like, which one's dumber? And Morrison's like, him. So they're having Morrison be Mr. Goofy with Miz being Mr. Serious, which is, I don't like that. I think they could be doing something more with Morrison, but whatever. They set up a tag match. Miz and Morrison bring up the fact that the last time Sheamus and Keith teamed together, that Sheamus hit him with a big ol' brogue kick. I almost said broski kick, but that's Zack Ryder, and that's broski boots, so I don't know where I was going. But yeah, brogue kick. So they put that over. They set up a tag team match for it later in the night. Then we have Jeff versus Elias advertised. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial. Elias comes down the ring. He's like, I got good news. I got bad news and worse news, I think he said, or I got good and bad news or something like that. No, he said, I got bad news and worse news. The bad news is he suffered a debilitating injury while making music this week. The worst news is that he has to face Riker instead. So you have Elias putting himself down by saying Jeff Hardy's bad news, right? He's saying he has bad news and worse news, right? And he's saying it to Jeff Hardy. So to Jeff Hardy, he's saying, bad news, you're not fighting me, which means, hey, I would have been an easy win. Worse news, you're facing him. And it's like, oh, hey, he's better than me. So he kind of like puts himself down twice. Like, whatever. They had Jeff get easily distracted by Elias on the outside when he was going for a swanton. Riker rolls him up very, very quickly. Riker cut a little bit of a promo saying that Elias's music inspires people and he's inspired to destroy Jeff Hardy or something before. Then very quick roll up 1, 2, 3. Riker gets a win. Pulling the tights, by the way. Jeff gets on the mic after and he tells Elias to face him. Elias notions to his injured hand. He's like, Jeff's like, you're not injured, buddy. You're just scared that people will see that Riker is better than you. Elias is like, oh, okay. And then he on camera, right? He's talking to Riker, and he's very clearly being sarcastic by saying, all right, I'm going to go in there and destroy him. Don't, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like sarcastic as fuck. Don't get involved in the match. Don't interfere. You know what I mean? Very, very, very clearly making it mean like he's kidding. He wants him to get involved. We cut to commercial, we come back. So Jeff's pulling double duty. That's the first person pulling double duty tonight. We got 3 more doing it, so stay tuned. Then Jeff beats Elias. Elias is asking Riker why he didn't get involved, and Riker, with a very straight face, is telling him, you told me not to. Also, Elias just straight up did an FU, an attitude adjustment, in the match. Just straight up did it in the match as a transitional move. Like, what the fuck? Why? So, this match doesn't help anybody. Elias looks like an idiot in his promo. Jeff looks like an idiot getting rolled up by Riker. Riker looks like an idiot for not getting involved. Elias looks like an idiot again for losing to Jeff. Jeff also looks like an idiot for like just accepting getting cheated out of a win and then just saying, Elias, fight me instead. Like, it's just, it doesn't, that segment, that match, those 2 matches, they don't help anybody. I don't know who the fuck thought of that, but they don't help anybody. They really, 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 really do not help anybody. So I don't know who the fuck booked that. I don't know if by chance they'll end up watching this. If you booked that segment, fucking awful. Do better. Okay, moving on. We moved on to Keithley and Sheamus versus Morrison and Miz. This match was nice because we got a little bit more of that aggressive Morrison. When Morrison first got tagged in against Keith, he did something really nice where he like kind of sized him up to do the collar and elbow. And then he kind of goes to the ground. He like slides to the ground, kind of like handstands on the ground a little bit and kicks Keith in the leg and then gets back up and works on the leg. So we got to see a bit more of that aggressive, in-ring, impressively talented Morrison. So they let him do more of that this week, which was nice. There was a spot where Morrison was in the corner and Keithley shoulder barges him into the top rope kind of thing, top turnbuckle, and it explodes. And he turns around all like hyped, and then he notices that the turnbuckle exploded, and then he just starts corpsing. He's like, oh shit, look what happened. I did that. So that was great. And then they went to commercial. Then they came back. When they came back from commercial, before they cut to the match again, I mentioned this in my SmackDown review of the most recent SmackDown, just as a production thing, they had an advertisement for SmackDown, coincidentally. I don't like them promoting SmackDown on Raw, and I don't like them promoting Raw on SmackDown. I never liked that to begin with. They're not meant to be 2 shows working together. That's not what that is. The brand split is meant to be 2 shows competing. Right? So competing for ratings, competing for this, for that, right? So I don't like that they promoted SmackDown, and I also don't like that they had a promotion for another show before you got back into the in-ring action. It's during a match. It breaks up the flow. I don't like it. I mentioned it on the SmackDown review. It's just a production thing that I don't like, and I'm sure Kevin Dunn is behind it. If not, whoever it is that is behind it, you're stupid. Keith Lee was kind of feeling himself. He was enjoying himself. He was all smiling. I think he was setting up for the Spirit Bomb. Sheamus tags in. Bro kicks Morrison, I'm pretty sure. Pins him 1, 2, 3. And then Keith was smiling. Sheamus was smiling. They hugged kind of. No, they didn't hug. But they were celebrating. I think they shook hands afterwards. Then we go to a Triple H backstage interview where he takes more time than he needs to just say he accepts. The whole gist of that backstage thing was like he called back on their history together and stuff like that. And it's like, hey, listen, Triple H, we know you're a fucking fill-in on last minute's notice. You don't have to make tonight feel big. Everybody is aware that this was not the plan. Just say you accept. Don't give this like 4-minute backstory and then say you accept. Just accept. It was not necessary. But was it, though, because they needed to fill time because they seemed shorthanded? You never know. You go to commercial, you come back from commercial, and Keithley and Sheamus are fighting. Not fighting, but they're, in each other's face. They're angry at each other. A ref's kind of separating them, and then they start a match between them. And you might think, oh, I missed why they did that. Everybody did because they didn't fucking show it. Nobody saw what happened in between them being happy and then them being angry at each other. Nobody saw it. Why? Why? Like, why? I don't get it. There were just so many things that were void of logic, man. The actual tag team match, by the way, I should mention because I haven't mentioned the match quality too much. Charlotte and Lacey was okay for what it was. It was nothing special. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just meh, right? Whatever. Riker and Hardy, shit, because it was that short and it was dumb. Jeff and Elias, shit, because of how shit and dumb it was. The tag team match with Keithley and Miz and Morrison and Sheamus, I genuinely liked it. I thought it was good. The match that happened now with Keith and Sheamus also was good. It's just I don't understand why they didn't show us what happened in between. You know what I mean? Or if they wanted to do Keith and Sheamus, which they already did 2 weeks ago. So yeah, but they could have done it again, and they could have just had next week them show up and be like, hey, hey, we're friends now. Yeah, now that we're friends, I won us that match last week. And then Keith could have been like, hey, you won us that match? I mean, I had it under control, and then you stole my win, is what happened. Then they can get into each other, and then you could have the match next week instead of having them pull double duty tonight, which, by the way, number 2 and 3, wrestler number 2 and 3 after Jeff Hardy to pull double duty tonight. So yeah, but the match was actually good. There was a spot where Sheamus slapped Keithley and Keithley headbutted him, which I thought was nice. Keithley won the match. Keithley looked fairly dominant also, and then they hugged after. Keithley had his hand raised. Sheamus was like, hey, fuck out of here, ref, and then kind of hugged him kind of thing. So that was the match itself was good. They're both really good performers. So yeah. Then we had a thing with Drew addressing Goldberg's challenge. He talks about how him and his brother used to be fans of Goldberg, wanting to find out who's next, but to not meet your heroes because they disappoint you. He says that Goldberg was yelling at him kind of for saying things that he didn't say, so he went into his thoughts, but how could he know how he's thinking or some shit? Drew accepts the challenge. Drew versus Goldberg at Royal Rumble. It's 2021. Then we had a Riddle backstage promo with the Lucha Bros. Riddle is talking to somebody off camera, off screen, how he's excited to face Lashley, like when you get a big pizza and you cut into it and you smell it and all that shit. And then he's like, yeah, you get me. And then I wrote Lucha Bros again. What is wrong with me? The Lucha House Party. Did I say Lucha Bros? I don't even know. The Lucha House Party were like, yeah, we understand a little, right? Grand Metalik said that. And then Lindsay was like, no, I don't, like, are you hungry? And then he's like, no, bro, blah, blah, blah. And then the Lucha House Party are like, we're rooting for you, but just watch your back because, Hurt Business. And then Riddle's like, well, what do you mean? That's not possible. You can't watch your back, over the shoulder, under the arm, between the legs, And he was physically trying to look at his back. In recent weeks, right, I've liked the Riddle comedy stuff. I think it's been okay or really good sometimes in recent weeks. This week it fell flat for me. I didn't like it. It didn't do much for me at all. So that was a shame. We had Woods versus TBar. I guess Kofi has a broken jaw, so he's out. I thought that maybe they were doing a kayfabe injury because they were talking about how Kofi wasn't in the match during Woods' entrance. And then they came back and said a broken jaw. I'm like, a broken jaw is a very weird kayfabe injury to give, so I'm going to assume it's a real injury. So it looks like Woods is on his own for a bit. Woods has a match with TBar. There's one of those pre-match shot promos from TBar while he's making his entrance, where he says he's going to bend Woods into a trombone. into the shape of a trombone, but the sounds that you hear from it will be his bones breaking and shit like that, or something like that. The delivery was good. I mean, like he got good like bass, I guess, in his voice, and he did the whole raspy, like intimidating kind of scary thing really well. So like the delivery of the promo was good. The contents of it, WWE writers maybe aren't the best, but TBar ended up winning the match. Nothing too special there. Mustafa Ali looked pretty proud of him, I guess, after the match, clapping and applauding him. So, TBar gets a win for Retribution. No sign of Ricochet this week, so I don't know if they're dropping the Ricochet and Retribution thing, or if maybe Ricochet got COVID because he was around Drew or something. Like, I don't really know. I don't want to speculate and say people have COVID when they don't, but I'm not really sure why Ricochet wasn't on the show. So we'll see. Maybe that's just because was the end of Ricochet and T-Bar's rivalry, and Retribution's rivalry, just he gets beat by everyone and then he doesn't join, says fuck you, and then that's the end of the rivalry? They don't pay it off? Like, that'd be a weird end to the rival. I don't know. They had a Randy interview where the interviewer asked him what he thinks about Triple H accepting the challenge. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not remember a goddamn word that Randy Orton said in this interview. I don't know if maybe I wasn't paying attention and I didn't hear it, or if I was paying attention and I was just so fucking like sick of the show, or if I was, because this show felt like it was 3 days long. Fuck 3 hours. This felt 3 days long. I don't know if I was maybe kind of like in like a comatose kind of state where I was just kind of like there, but I wasn't there. I don't even know what that's comatose means, but I could not tell. If you put a gun to my head and tell me to say one word that Randy said in that interview, or you're shooting me in the head, brother, tell my family I love them because I'm dying. I can't remember a goddamn thing he said. Then we had Riddle versus Lashley in a United States Championship match. I like that it was a U.S. Championship match because he beat the champion in a non-title. That typically means you earn yourself a title match. The match itself was... it existed. It happened on the show. Speaking of people not on the show, Cedric and Shelton not on the show at all. Not even as part of like the Riddle and Lashley stuff. Not even as like a backstage segment where they bully a production crew member. None of that stuff. So I don't really know. There was a assault by Lashley on Riddle before the bell rung, kind of like Riddle did to him last week. Lashley looked really, really, really dominant throughout the whole match. It was kind of like, it wasn't a squash, but like it was like a long squash. Like, it didn't really look like Riddle had a chance at any point in the match, for me at least. So I don't know. He makes Riddle tap out with the Hurt Lock, retains his championship. I'm happy about that. I don't think Lashley should lose that title yet. He should hold it for a little bit until they're ready to put him in the main event and give him the WWE title eventually. So, yeah, because I think Lashley as WWE champion as part of the Hurt Business could be very, very good, especially with the way that they're booking Lashley now as like the dominant, walking weapon kind of thing that he was doing in TNA, and not that fucking bullshit, hey, I got 7 sisters and they're my whole life, guys. Look at me. I'm a dude who's 3 times your size, who could crush your skull with my fucking index and pointer finger. That's the same thing. My thumb and pointer finger, but I'm just gonna sit here and smile and be polite. What the fuck were they thinking with that? And then he's not in an adultery angle, so yeah, he's actually booked well. But there's a little bit of deja vu because Riddle, after getting beat by fucking Lashley, very, very, very convincingly, grabs the mic, says, hey, I couldn't beat Lashley, but MVP, you like to kick people when they're down. I can beat you. And then MVP's like, oh, you want some of this? All right, let's do it. We go to commercial. We come back. MVP is wrestling in his suit against Riddle, and Lashley gets involved, attacking Riddle, causing a DQ win for Riddle. So Riddle pulled double duty, kinda. they did the same fucking, I just lost, I'm gonna get on the mic and challenge your, ally instead. And both times it ended in a win, but one of them was a DQ win. Monday Night Raw, ladies and gentlemen. Not very good. Not very good. See, you know what happens with me in reviewing Raw every week? What happens is I watch the show, right, from start to finish, and then I get on, get my fucking mic on and start talking about it immediately after, right? While I'm watching the show, it's never as bad as it seems as I'm reading back the notes I made in my book, because I make notes while I watch it so I don't forget stuff, because I kind of forget things from time to time, and by time to time I mean all the time. So for the sake of not forgetting things, I write down my thoughts and then I read them through as kind of like a way to structure what I'm thinking. And like I'll hop on to record the review, and then it'll be like, hey, let's do it. And like before I record, I'm like, oh, okay, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. But I'm thinking like, okay, off the top of my head, maybe like a 4 out of 10 or something. And then as I'm running through it, it just like my internal clock is like, oh no, this was really, really bad. And I just realized how bad it was as I like speak the review. I don't know. Raw's not good. Especially this week. Okay. Then we had an AJ and Adam Pearce backstage segment. AJ's talking about how who's going to eliminate him from the Rumble when he has almost there. Says he's going to win the Rumble, and if Adam Pearce happens to win the title at the Royal Rumble, maybe Roman steps on a banana peel or whatever, he can face AJ at WrestleMania. Pearce is like, yeah, thanks AJ, but I'm here as my official role, WWE official tonight. That's now on my mind. I'm here to do my job. Gulak gets in, and he says that he declares for the Rumble, and specifically he'd like number 30 if that's possible. And Pearce kind of cuts him off. He's like, hey, you're aware that there's 30 people in the Rumble combined between SmackDown and Raw, right? I can't just give out spots in the Rumble. You can't just declare in. You have to earn it. And then Gulak, rightfully so, points out, but AJ did. And then Adam Pearce is kind of like dumbfounded. He can't think what he says. And then AJ's like, oh, I'm a former 2-time champion. That's why, blah, blah, blah. And eventually Pearce says that if Gulak can beat AJ next, he will get a spot in the Rumble. Just before we talk about the actual match, I would like to quickly point out how much I hate this declaring for the Rumble thing. Because, and this is a perfect example of why it's so shit. People declaring for the Rumble sets the precedent that anybody can declare for the Rumble. If AJ can declare for the Rumble, Lince Dorado can declare for the Rumble. Akira Tozawa can declare for the Rumble, right? And as good as those guys are in the ring, and as good of wrestlers they are, and yeah, they should get more opportunities, they are booked at the bottom of the card. They probably shouldn't be in the Rumble. You want more star power in the Rumble, you shouldn't have the low guys on the card, right? So, my issue here is that you set that precedent that anybody can declare, and then you have a promo segment where you're like, okay, this guy's going to declare, and on your own show, you are calling out the bullshit that you're putting out. You know what I mean? Like the incontinuity of what you're doing, and the unequalness. That's not a word, I don't think. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not like some people can declare, but some people have to earn it. Either everybody can declare or everybody can earn it. With the off chance that if you have like a heel general manager, like back in the day, like with Eric Bischoff or whatever, you could have a top heel on the roster be like, hey, Eric, do me a solid and I'll take out somebody that you don't like who's in a good position right now, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And you could have the heel general manager give favors to the top heels on the roster. That's fine. right? Because then that makes sense. The heel GM has his allegiances with the heels on the roster because they both think the same way. Obviously, you're going to do a solid for your members of the roster who you like more because you're a heel, so you don't treat everybody equally. That's fine. That works. Having Adam Pearce as a neutral WWE official allow one person to declare and then tell another person they have to earn it doesn't make sense. The fact that some people in general can declare and some have to earn it doesn't make sense. All have to do one or all have to do the other. That's it. You have to have Rumble qualifiers, or you have to have everybody can just declare for the Rumble. But here's the other thing with declaring for the Rumble. Even if they do, everybody can declare for the Rumble, they can't stretch it out over the 5-week build that they've had. A 4 or 5 week build that they've had for Rumble from the last pay-per-view. Everybody would do it as soon as the Rumble is announced and it's known that you can declare. All 30 spots would fill up for both Rumbles that fucking day. Because everybody would do their very best to call in and be like, hey, I declare. And make it official. Just have qualifiers, man. Having qualifiers makes your booking so much easier. Like, that's the thing that boggles my mind, too. Because when you have qualifiers, you have an easy excuse to put people in a match. If you're trying to book a storyline between two people, right? And you're like, okay, how can I get them in a match that makes sense and it's around Mania time? Put them in a qualifier. It's fucking simple. And you can work rivalries around qualifiers where somebody screws another person out of qualifying and then you get somebody in without having to really bury the person who takes the pin because they get interfered with. And, it's just... Have qualifiers, man. I hate this declaring for the Rumble bullshit. I think they did it last year. I think they've done it the year before. Like, stop. Just do qualifiers. It makes sense. It's a wrestling show. I'm a big person who believes in the saying, like, I forget who said it, but I watched like a shoot interview somewhat recently where somebody said the story is really, really important in wrestling because if it was just wrestling that was as popular as, professional wrestling is, there would be amateur wrestling pay-per-views every month. And there's not, and there's a reason for it. You need the story, right? And I believe that greatly. I think professional wrestling is beautiful because you have a sport and then you have entertainment. Sports entertainment, right? As much as we hate the term and as much as we hate them calling wrestlers sports entertainers, it is sports entertainment. You have the sport of the in-ring stuff. You can tell a story in-ring, and then you can tell a story with the character work, with the promos, with whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's a show about wrestling. And the people who are in the show, so the wrestlers, their job is to wrestle. Winning a championship means more money. They want to win a championship. They want to make more money. If you boil it down to the basics, it's about wrestling. You have to structure everything around the matches kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or use the matches as a way to, serve your story. But just do qualifiers. Just do qualifiers. If you have a match that everybody wants to get in, everybody is going to sign up for a fucking qualifier. So you have a reasonable way to do any match you want in the build up to Rumble because it's a qualifier. I don't know. I'm done ranting about that, bruh. Let's move on. The actual match was fine between AJ and Gulak. It was short. There was a Tiger Bomb by Drew Gulak that was pretty cool. Gulak actually got some decent offense at the beginning of the match, and then AJ took over. There's a spot where Gulak goes to the outside. He's on his stomach, supine kind of position. Prone position. Supine's the other way. He's kind of prone on the outside. Almost steps into frame. Drew Gulak, his eyes bulge wide open when he sees his foot. And he kind of just stares at his foot for like 10 seconds and then starts to look up at him, and the camera pans up with him to Omos and how fucking tall the dude is. AJ comes out, picks him up, throws him in the ring, ba-ba-da-boom, ba-ba-boom. Phenomenal forearm, 1, 2, 3, AJ wins. Gulak is not in the Rumble, I guess, and AJ gets a win not going into the Rumble because it's not the go home, but, on the way to the Rumble. They had a Goldberg highlight reel. The video package, the highlight reel of Goldberg itself, yeah, it was fine. The production team at WWE is very good at what they do. They took his footage from WCW in the 90s and they were like, hey, look how cool he was. Then they took his WWE footage from the early 2000s in the Ruthless Aggression era. They were like, hey, look how cool he was until we kind of messed him up a bit, but he was still kind of cool. And then they show the footage from 2016 when he beats Brock, and it's like, hey, look, shock factor that really didn't help the product. And then they show him beating Kevin Owens. It's like, hey, look at us burying an up-and-coming star. And then they have him winning the title against Bray, and hey, look at him burying an up-and-coming star. And then the video package, right? That's it. Bill Goldberg was white hot in the 90s, and he was very over in the 2000s. Specifically 2003 when he came to WWE that year. The problem with that is if you take a look at the calendar, you will see that the year that we are currently living in is 2021. Nobody gives a fuck about Goldberg in 2021. He was limited then and was protected by the state of the industry. The industry then was story first, in-ring product second. It kind of still is today in the WWE, but wrestling as a whole these days, for many people, not me particularly, but for many people, actually me, yeah, kind of for me, I kind of like a 50-50 balance. The in-ring product is what most fans care about more these days. Bill Goldberg does not satisfy those fans in the slightest. Bill Goldberg doesn't do anything to put his opponents over. Bill Goldberg puts himself over. He stops the momentum of young up-and-coming talents that they should be building as their stars, so they stop going back in the fucking future, taking these old guys out of retirement who need fucking medication to live every day, and then giving them the fucking spotlight. Stop bringing back old timers. Build up your current guys. Your fucking roster is chock full of charismatic, talented fucking people that you will not give the fucking ball to run with. Vince McMahon needs to stop living in the fucking 80s when everybody was coked up, cutting fucking bullshit nonsensical promos and having shitty matches. And he needs to get with the times. Look at his roster and fucking push people on his roster so that they become stars. Because his whole thing is, oh, we don't have stars. You can't just make stars. With the roster you have, you absolutely can. He just doesn't because he's stuck in the fucking past. Fuck off with Goldberg in 2021. If he wins at the Royal Rumble, I'm not watching Raw ever again. Not ever again. I'll cave eventually, but I won't watch Raw for a fucking long ass time. I might watch SmackDown still, unless they do champion versus champion at Mania, then I'm done with wrestling again. I don't give a fuck. Once again, I repeat, the year is 2021. Goldberg has a world championship match or a WWE championship match at the Royal Rumble. Fuck off. From the bottom of my heart, go fuck yourself. Okay. We had a Triple H and Keith Lee backstage segment where Keith Lee says that ever since he got to... he said ever since I got here, so I don't know if he meant WWE as a company, so his time in NXT as well, or if he means specifically Raw, but he says that Triple H has had his back. He's like, let me return the favor. I got your back tonight. I'm 2 in. I can go for a third tonight. Triple H says, listen, I got myself in this. I got to clean it up myself. I gotta take care of this myself. And then they advertise that he's gonna fight Randy. Once again, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not. It's not a match. It's not a match between Randy and Triple H. It's just a fight. Then we had, when we come back from commercial, because they went to commercial there, I think there was like 15, 20 minutes left in Raw when they went to commercial at that point. So, yeah, they come back to commercial. You think they're going to be doing Randy and Triple H. And then we got Mandy and Dana versus Nia and Shayna in a tag team match. There's a pre-match backstage, little talking heads promo from Mandy and Dana where they declare for the Royal Rumble. And they also say that if they see Shayna in the Rumble, they're going to drop her like a Kardashian does Kanye or something like that. Very mainstream reference, guys. Wow, cool points. Just a quick little tidbit. Professional wrestling fans do not give a fuck what Hollywood stars do. I don't give a fuck about Kim and Kanye. That's not a relevant fucking reference in professional wrestling. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. But you guys are in the Rumble. That's cool. You guys got to declare. It's funny because AJ declared. Drew's like, hey, I want to declare. Pierce is like, hey, you can't. You got to wrestle. And then like 10 minutes later, they have two people declare for the Rumble. It's like, where's the continuity? Okay. The match itself was fine. It was pretty short. Nia was probably about to win the match, and then Shayna tags in, taps out Mandy. Nia looks very annoyed at that fact, and Shayna's like, yeah, I got the win, bruh. So they're teasing them breaking up, which is good because then Nia will not drag Shayna down any longer. And then we finally had Randy versus Triple H, which wasn't really versus Triple H. It's like versus in like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It was a fight. It was not a sanctioned match. And when this started, there was like 10 minutes left to Raw, so everybody knew it wasn't going to be an actual match. I was on Twitter, right, trying to, because like I'll typically, if they post something about Goldberg, I'll post a fucking meme in the comments and be like, hey, fuck off, nobody wants it. I was on Twitter and I was seeing a lot of people excited for Triple H versus Randy Orton in 2021. And then basically there was a Fiend and Alexa stuff. It was a bait and switch kind of thing as the main event. Spoiler alert, I guess, because we're about to talk about it anyways. And then people were like, oh man, I was disappointed, man. They didn't give us this match. Brother, they've given that match to you 1,000 times in the last 20 years. Fucking go watch one of those. Who fucking cares? This was never meant to be a big deal. It was just them making do with the shit hand they were dealt with Drew getting COVID. Randy was supposed to have Drew, and that probably would have been a longer match. You know what I mean? And then whatever, but they had to work around that. So Triple H just filled in because they had the Legends thing, so it's a quick little fix. Triple H is on hand to do whatever because he's a company guy. Like, I don't understand the people who were outraged, like, oh man, they advertised these guys fighting a match, and I was disappointed they didn't give it to me. They announced it halfway through the show. It was never announced as a match, but a fight, and they've literally had 1,000 matches. Not literally. Maybe literally if you take in house shows, but, like why? Who cares? Why are you that upset that we didn't get to see Triple H versus Randy Orton in 2021? Who fucking cares? Like, so the thing is, it's those people who live in the past that the WWE probably looks like. WWE probably looks at like the comments on social media and on YouTube and stuff, and they'll look through like 500 messages of people saying, hey, we don't want this. This is trash. This is trash. Don't bring in the past with like Goldberg. And then they'll find one that says, yay, I love Goldberg. I'm so excited. And then they'll see 500 more that shit on it, but they'll be like, the people love this. I think that's what WWE does. Just be like, there's no fucking way. The fight between Triple H and Randy was fine. It was short. It wasn't meant to be anything special, obviously. They started in the ring. They went to the outside a bit. Randy cut his cheek, which was funny because when we go to the finish of the match, it was obviously pre-taped and he doesn't have the cut on his cheek. So, excuse me. Yeah, but basically, they fight on the outside a bit. After fighting on the inside, Randy goes in the ring. Triple H grabs the sledgehammer. Triple H is making his way up the steps. The lights go down Fiend style a little bit, that first stage. Triple H is like, what the fuck? He starts getting in the ring more. Lights go down the second stage. He gets in the ring, he's stalking Randy with the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer catches on fire. Triple H lifts it up. He's like, what the fuck? Lights go out fully, Fiend style. Lights go back on, but it's the pink lights, the Alexa's Funhouse lights. Randy's looking for him. Triple H is gone. So I don't know. Maybe next week they'll have them rescuing Triple H, dude. Triple H is gone. Randy's looking around. He turns around. Alexa's just standing in the corner. And then he's just kind of like, ooh, what the fuck? Alexa walks out. She puts up her glove under her chin because she has similar gloves to how Fiend has. How Fiend has hurt and heal. And then he'll listen to one and then whatever. Alexa does the thing where she like puts it under her chin. I don't know what her gloves say though. But she put the one on her left hand on her chin. And then she shot fire out of her hands like she was in fucking Street Fighter. She shot fire out of her right hand into Randy's eyes, and then Randy was like writhing and screaming in pain without the cut on his cheek, by the way, so continuity. But I mean, that makes sense because you're putting the pre-tape at the end of the match, so it just happened to work out like that. So that's not a big deal. It's just like a funny discontinuity error. Shoots a fireball at Randy. Randy sells it around the ring for a little bit, and then the show ends. Typically, I like the Alexa and Bray stuff. I've liked the segments in the past that a lot of people didn't like. A lot of people didn't like the thing with Alexa saying to burn her alive. I like that segment a lot. A lot of people didn't like the segment before that, like the week before with Alexa's Funhouse originally and Randy talking about how he could smell the Fiend's flesh burning. A lot of people didn't like that. I like that. I did not like this week. Why the fuck is she like for... It doesn't make sense that it's hard because Bray is this otherworldly being, but he's not like a dude with superpowers. He's just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. The shooting of the fire from her hand, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. The person who did the special effects on it, awful job. It looked very cheesy. It didn't look good at all. They should have put more effort on it or gotten somebody who knew how to work that better to do it. So yeah, that wasn't good. He sold it fine, I guess. Like he was screaming a lot, and I think Randy sells really well personally when he's into something. So I thought he sold it well enough. I didn't like it though. I really didn't like it. I typically like the Fiend and Alexa stuff. I didn't like it this week. I don't know if that was always the plan. If the plan was always to have Alexa come and shoot him in the eye with flame and then, at the end of the Drew match maybe, but I did not like that at all. Overall, not a good Raw. Overall, not a good Raw. I'm trying to think back if there was anything else that I failed to mention. I don't know if there was. Yeah, man, I didn't really like. It was not a good Raw. I don't understand what WWE's problem is with having like one show always not be that great. Because when they first split up the brands in 2016, SmackDown was great for a year. Raw was shit. They did the Superstar Shakeup. Raw was good for a year and SmackDown wasn't that great. SmackDown had a couple highlights here and there, but overall it wasn't that great. They switched brands again. SmackDown went back to being really, really good. Raw went back to being shit. Right, that would have been the 2018 switch. And then 2019 was garbage because they had the fucking... wild card bullshit, and then the Superstar Invitational bullshit, and then whatever else they did when I wasn't watching from October to October. And then 2020, once again, for the most of 2020, I wasn't watching, so I wouldn't know. But ever since I've been watching again, SmackDown's been consistently good. Raw, besides that one episode, has been consistently shit. I don't understand what WWE's problem is with having one show only being able to be good consistently on a week-to-week basis. I don't understand it. Like, do two different, like... It's not even like there's two different teams booking the shows. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's like one booking team on one show and one booking. It feels like a whole other company. It feels like they hired a good company. They outsourced SmackDown to a good company and they're keeping Raw in-house. That's what it feels like. It's so weird that like there's always that disparity between Raw and SmackDown. One has to be good, one has to be bad. Like, I don't get it. Yeah, Raw wasn't good. Maybe like a 2 out of 10, maybe a 3 out of 10. There was one match, well, technically 2 matches, because the tag team and then the rematch with the singles with Keithley. Riddle was the 4th guy who pulled double duty, by the way. 4 people pulling double duty. They teased Keithley pulling triple duty. So not a good Raw at all. Maybe like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. It was really bad. It was really, really, really bad. I don't understand. Not even the Fiend and Alexa stuff was good this week. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. And, like, fair enough. Drew got COVID last minute. They had to work around that. That's fair, right? I'm cutting them some slack with the Orton and Triple H stuff. It's just Monday Night Raw, ladies and gentlemen. The best 3 hours of your life every week. 2 or 3 out of 10 for sure. Not a good show at all. Really, really didn't like it. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this, that's great. I also do gameplay content on the channel if you want to check that out. A couple things will be linked at the end cards at the end of the video, a GM mode and a 2K14 series that I'm doing. I'm also doing other stuff. Go check that out. If you guys liked the video, that's great. If I don't know what I'm trying to say. Patreon. There we go. That's something I should probably plug a bit more. If you would like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. The link is the first link in the description of this video and every video. So if you'd like to do that, that would be fantastic. Go follow me on Twitter. Link in the description. Please sponsor me. Peace Tea, of course. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy and not put my videos on your sub boxes. So by pressing that nice old bell icon, you will get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And man, let me know what your thoughts of the show were. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you like Raw? Did you dislike Raw? Let me know what you thought down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit, and I will see you guys next time. What a waste of 3 hours, man. Fuck.